What's going on with your gang today? We got this 3-year-old gets eaten alive by bear on front porch in front of mother. Final affliction. I don't know why your 3-year-old on the front porch by themselves anyways.
In today's episode, a 3-year-old girl playing in her yard is targeted by a starving black bear. As her mother hears a scream, she turns to look, just in time to see the black bear mauling her daughter. Hit that like button and subscribe right now. This is the terrifying black bear attack on Carol Ann Pomranke, gutted and killed in front of her family. Welcome to Final Affliction.
How the hell you be finding all this shit, dog? Like, oh yeah, let me see. How long ago bear eats 3-year-old? Like, how do you find this, bro? And then, who tells you the deeper information that probably isn't even up in the articles?
Michigan in the United States is famous for its fruits, shorelines, and its popular university campus. It holds the nation's longest freshwater coastline and has plenty of untouched nature spots that invites adults and children to explore and discover new areas. One thing that Michigan is distinctly not known for is bear
Seen
attacks,
that video.
boasting one of the lowest attack rates in the United States. Known for bear attacks, boasting one of the lowest attack rates in the United States. There have only been 3 fatal bear attacks in the state of Michigan, which is surprising, given that there is an active population of approximately 12,000 black bears. These bears are considerably smaller and less aggressive than their brown cousins, meaning they are less likely to cause a conflict and will usually stay within their own territory. That being said, if someone were to enter their habitat, the bears wouldn't hesitate to catch an easy lunch. This was unfortunately the fate for young Carol Ann Pomranke. Carol Ann was born in 1945 and lived with her mother, father, and her older brother, Alan. She lived a simple life on a farmland in Michigan, where her father worked as a keeper of a fire observation tower in Marquette National Forest. One day, on July 8, 1948, 3-year-old Carol Ann was playing on the porch by herself while her mother and brother prepared the house inside. This was not an unusual occurrence. Whilst their father was away at work, the children would be left to do as they pleased. They knew the forest very well and had already been taught what to do in the case of a bear encounter. They were used to seeing bears moving around the yard, but one had never come close enough to cause any worry for the family. Carol Ann was left to play by herself as her mother's friend arrived to spend time with the family. At 2:30 p.m., Mrs. Vivian Pomranke and her...
But you know about bears, like, there's no way that you have a child and you're not worried about your child like that. You feel me? Like, there's no way I'm gonna have my almost 4-year-old son on the front porch by himself, knowing that there's bears out there. He's a kid. He's gonna want to roam real quick. You feel me? Before you even see him leave, type shit. Like, he gonna be, when you get back, he gonna be dirty. So yeah, no, I don't trust it. That's just me though, as a parent. I don't know why motherfuckers be so laid back. That's why kids be getting kidnapped and shit.
Carol Ann was left to play by herself as her mother's friend arrived to spend time with the family. At 2:30 p.m., Mrs. Vivian Pomranke and her friend Mrs. Summers sat in the kitchen together, chatting about their week. They were very close friends and regularly spent time together while their husbands worked away from home. While Carol Ann played outside, she had been told to stay close to the house, and the porch door was kept open so that the mothers could keep an eye on her. Alan had left the kitchen and was playing in the basement below, so they were finally given some time together to catch up and relax while the children were occupied. Suddenly, they heard a single short scream from the porch and knew something was wrong. They could tell that this wasn't just some playful shriek. The child was scared and had screamed out for her mother. They ran to the kitchen door and saw Carol Ann was on the porch. She was on her hands and knees, her hand reaching out to the porch door and looking up at her mother in fear of something that they couldn't see just yet. Vivian's blood ran cold when she saw what had scared her daughter so much, her eyes falling upon a large black bear as it made its way onto the porch behind her daughter. The bear had Carol Ann fixed in his sights and was growling.
The thing about favorites is, they're only your favorite until a new favorite tells your old favorite to beat it.
Introducing the all-new Sonic Smasher.
Ready to grab the little girl, Vivian watched in horror as the bear grabbed her daughter by the legs and dragged her off the porch. Carol Ann screamed in pain and terror as she was dragged further and further away from her mother. Seeing this, and fearing the bear would try to enter the house next, Mrs. Summers pulled Vivian away from the door as she struggled to save her daughter and tried to shut the door. Carol Ann continued to scream and tried to get away from the animal, but the bear clamped onto the girl's skull with its jaws and her little body fell limp, killing her instantly as the teeth entered her brain.
Wow.
Mrs. Summers was finally able to shut the porch door, creating a final barrier between the women and the bear. But Vivian was determined to save her child, not knowing that she was already dead. She ran to the bedroom to find her husband's pistol, but in her panic, she couldn't find it anywhere. She ran back downstairs and opened the door to confront the bear, but the garden was empty. She frantically searched for any sign of her daughter or the bear, but could only see the pool of blood on her porch, which gave no clue to the direction of the animal. Grief-stricken, she returned to her home and rang the ranger station to inform them of what had happened.
You rang them so late! So late! Oh my, nobody rang them? You didn't? The person that was with you did? Oh my god, bruh. That girl had no chance. Y'all suck.
The blood on her porch, which gave no clue to the direction of the animal.
Y'all suck.
She returned to her home and rang the ranger station to inform them of what had happened and begged them to save her daughter. Soon after the call, 7 rangers arrived at the Pomeranke's cabin and waited at the edge of the forest. Ranger Bruce Elliott had returned home when he received the call to get his search dogs, hoping they would be useful in the search for Carol Ann. Once he arrived, the group was instructed to enter the forest, following the dogs as they went, and split into smaller groups to cover more ground. Almost immediately, one of the Labrador retrievers picked up a scent and led the rangers deeper into the woods in the hopes of saving the little girl. About 160 yards from the cabin, the men discovered blood spots along with a child's shoe and began to realize that they may be searching for a dead body rather than a living child, as they were told by Vivian. They continued to follow the dogs into the forest, and 150 feet into their journey, they found the body of Carol Ann Pomeranke. It's one thing to find the body of an adult after a mauling, but it's a completely different situation when the victim is just a 3-year-old child. The group of rangers were distraught when they found Carol Ann facing upward and leaning against a tree. Had it not been for her horrifying injuries, the rangers would have thought she was sleeping. Her clothes were still partially intact. Her shirt was still covering her body, but slightly rolled up in the middle. Where the shirt had been pulled up, the evidence of her death became clear. The large cuts down her abdomen caused her intestines to spill out from her body and were attached to a nearby bush. Her legs had been fully eaten up to the knee, and there were deep gashes across her head and face. Despite the state of her body, there was little to no blood to be found around her, as if the bear had cleaned her up as he devoured her. As they stared at the child, they could make out the deep hole near her left eye, which appeared to be deep enough to reach her brain, the fatal blow. They knew there was nothing to be done, and a young life had been taken in such a brutal way. After some time, the men decided what they must do next. Some members of the group began walking back to the tower site and reported their discovery to their superiors, while another ranger was told to guard Carol Ann's body. The dogs seemed eager to continue into the forest, and so, hoping to find the bear responsible, the men continued forward. They tracked the scent of the bear, but it was difficult to keep a hold of, constantly disappearing and changing, which in return confused the dogs. Meanwhile, the man who had been left with the body, Wayne Weston, was waiting alone in the darkness. It was a horrible sight to be left with, a small child who was killed and desecrated in such a terrible way. He was thinking of all the small children around the area and how any of them could be next when he heard the bushes rustling behind him. Suddenly, the bear burst through the leaves, rushing straight at Wayne Weston. He was prepared and withdrew his pistol, immediately firing 5 shots into the black bear, which killed it instantly. The other rangers quickly arrived back at the scene after hearing the shots and determined that the black bear had cached Carol Ann's body, ready to continue the feast. Satisfied that the bear was dead, they returned Carol Ann's body to her family, giving them the proper opportunity to grieve. They left them with the body and went back for the bear, wanting to make sure that the bear that they shot was truly the bear responsible for the child's death. Once they autopsied the bear's body, they were able to find human remains in its stomach, finally proving that the rampage of this animal was at an end. It was determined that the bear was suffering from starvation. Aside from Carol Ann's remains, there was nothing else present in its stomach, which suggested that the animal was just desperate at the time. Ultimately, the bear was purely just trying to survive and was able to get an easy meal, which unfortunately happened to be Carol Ann. Her story went on to other parents, showing them the worst-case scenario that could happen to their children, and it meant that all the children of Michigan had a safer eye upon them. Thankfully, Carol Ann Pomranke was the last fatality in Michigan by a black bear ever recorded. But this story just goes to show that the next time a black bear gets hungry, it wouldn't hesitate to bring someone else to their terrifying final affliction.
Man, y'all be out there messing with them animals, dog. Couldn't be me. Shit, fuck that. I don't even like camping. But if you made it this far, man, like, comment, share, hit that sub button. RP, baby girl. Yeah, she ain't even deserve that. She was only 3. That's crazy. Oh, I'd be so sick. Oh, I'd be so sick. But yeah, I'm gonna get it with y'all in the next video, gang.